day when I send all my doubts and demons on their way. Every endeavor I have made ever is coming into play, is here and now today. This is the moment, this is the time when the momentum and the moment are in rhyme. Give me this moment, this precious chance. I'll gather up my past and make some sense. At last, this is the moment when I've done all of the dreaming, scheming, and screaming become one. This is the day. See it sparkle and shine when all I've lived for becomes mine. For all these years I faced the world alone, and now the time has come to prove to them I've made it on my own. This is the moment, my final test. Destiny beckoned, I never reckoned second best. Wang won't look down, I must not fall. This is the moment, the sweetest moment of them all. This is the moment, damn all the odds. This day or never, I'll sit forever with the gods. When I look back, I will always recall, moment for moment, this was the moment, the greatest moment of them all. Yeah, I know, it's just all the standard trail opera repertoire. What are you gonna do? So, guess I'll stand up here. Aw. So cute. They are so cute. The first question almost everybody asks me is, when I tell them I did this, is, well, did you do it alone? And the answer is yes, but. I mean, yeah, you start alone, but you are never alone. I mean, there are the social component, the friends that I made, it really goes beyond description. The depth and the connection that I made with all these just incredible, wonderful people. So this is the term, a trail family is a tramly. Okay, so we have this, there's this phrase that you hear over and over. It's the trail provides. And it does. It's like, I don't know how, but it just happens. And whatever you need, it just shows up. And one of the things that really shows up time and time again is other people and friends. So the trail provides a tramly, and I had 4 awesome tramlies over the course of the 5.5 months. And so I'm going to give you a little tour of some of them. Okay? Fears of loneliness turned out to be absurd. My tramley My Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley. All my beautiful friends from the trail in a single word. My Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley. My Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley. I just became part of a Tramley, and suddenly the trail is rocking without fail so far. My Tramley, I just made a plan with my Tramley, and suddenly I found how awesomely profound we are. My Tramley, give me 5, we have got such big hearts. Give me 10, thanks for sharing your Pop-Tarts. My Tramley, we'll never break apart. Well, probably. My Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley, my Tramley. Give me 5, we have got such big hearts. Give me 10, thanks for sharing your Pop-Tarts. My Tramley, we'll never break apart. Well, probably. All my beautiful friends from the trail in a single word. My So I don't know if the live stream is working, but hopefully it is. Oh, good. So Wilder, Bonsai, Bighorn, Square Pants, all of you. I love you who are all out there. It really, it just means a lot to me to have you guys all here. And the ones who are here, official PCT hikers, please stand up and be recognized. And Naked Ninja is actually in costume at the moment. He's doing the living history portion, so if you want to interact with him during intermission or the reception, and ask a question to a real hiker, he can do that. I look out here, and you guys are you're the people who matter most to me in my life, and so it's a great privilege to have you all here. This is a conversation, so at certain points in the show, we'll just open it up for questions or comments, like now. Roshan.
Did you really wear Crocs the whole time?
I did, yes, and in fact.
Not on day one, comma.
What?
Not on day one.
Oh, you're right. No, for the first half of day one, I did not. I tried my awesome Limmer boots. They gave me blisters before lunch, and I took them off and put on my Crocs, and I mailed the Limmers home, and I wore Crocs for the next 2,400 miles. These are the ones that I actually finished in on the top of Mount Whitney, so you can, touch them afterwards.
When was the first time you wanted to end it and go home?
The first time when I wanted to end it and go home, the first time when it even recrossed my mind as a remote possibility. So the answer is never. But the first time it crossed my mind as a remote possibility was coming out of the Devil's Punch Bowl, which was on day 22 after Mount Baden-Powell. For some reason, most of the other hikers on the trail were like really young, practically infants in their 20s. And I was having a hard time keeping up. And we had a really long hike, and I was really depressed, and then they went off ahead, and I couldn't find them, and I got lost on the trail, and I was like, I've been abandoned, and then turns out that I was actually just coming down with the flu, so, and, so I had, negative dreams, and I was all scared that night in my dreams. But by the time I woke up, I just got up and I put on the Hamilton soundtrack, and I powered through the next day, caught up with them, and everything was great, so, yeah. So a couple of our friends had a couple of things to say. Yeah. I'm going to show you some comments from some of them, and then we'll get back to the music.
Our friend here. So I'm going to share a memory about Kama. Not only was Kama a great person and one of my favorite people on the trail, but my best memory of him is, so I hiked with my boyfriend Pano, and Pano and Kama were like two peas in a pod. And they would just walk and talk together all day long, which was perfect because I kind of like to hike alone. Kama is the Pano nanny. They talked all day and hiked together, and Kama became one of our best friends. Thanks, Kama.
Hey. All right. Two things that really stand out about my time with Kama. First, probably his willingness to say yes when somebody says, hey, let's play a card game, or a random stranger offers us to take a shower in their home. Most people are like, maybe. And then Kama would just jump out of nowhere and emphatically say, yes, that sounds lovely, let's do it. And then we would all end up doing whatever it was and be glad that we did. And another interesting part of that is the people making the offer were always so happy to be able to accommodate us. So that was really cool. And the other thing is this weird skill he has for always advancing the conversation, getting people talking, just creating the social scene without ever drawing attention to himself or, trying to always be the center of it. It was really cool how he would just get everyone to open up, share their life experiences, and then we would all just grow closer together. So those are two of many things that I love about Kama. See you soon.
We decided to camp there because Pano's ankle was really hurting, and he was like, I know I shouldn't go any further. And I was like, I know I shouldn't go any further either, but I was like, it's so close. We wanted to do 16 miles to the water source, and we've only done 13 miles, and we only have 13 more to go, and then we get there, our goal for the day. And you were the only voice of reason among us, and you were like, yeah, we have 3 more miles to go. That's a reason to do it tonight, or it's a reason to camp here and do it in the morning. And it was like, well, duh. But then I was like, no, but that makes perfect sense. Yeah, we could push on tonight, and it's not that much, or it's not that much, so we could just wake up an hour earlier and do it in the morning. And it was already 11:30 p.m. Anyway. But yeah, so we sort of just went 5 feet off the trail amongst all these Joshua trees. And you set up your tent, of course, because you were so dead set on tenting every night. And me, Pano, and Star Crunch just cowboy camped on a little sheet. It was super windy. And yeah, so we went to sleep at 11:30, woke up when it was still dark, and did the rest of the 3 miles, and felt a lot better for it. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite memory of you. Particularly the part where you were singing sea shanties. Because you were always just one of the happiest people. I don't think I've ever seen you not smile, so.
So, after about 2 weeks on the trail, starting in the desert, the trail takes a big left turn, and you hike due west for a couple of 100 miles, straight towards Los Angeles. And the reason is because you're hiking around the Mojave Desert. And so what happens is, and the Mojave, so on day 21, when we were camped up on top of Mount Baden-Powell, we were literally watching the sunset over Los Angeles. And that was the only time when we saw the ocean on the whole trip. But so what happens is you have the Mojave Desert getting all hot, raising up all this air, and it's right by the ocean, and it sucks in all this ocean air, so it's just really windy. That's where Palm Springs is. So she mentioned the wind. The wind was a huge factor, and it really made the desert really quite somewhere between tolerable and lovely. So, there's a little song about that. Nighttime sharpens cooling heat sensations, breezes stir and wake imagination, filling up your senses, abandoning defenses, melting into sun in fading light. Now I can feel the desert winds tonight. Sunlight bakes in blazing midday splendor, blisters burn in boots with heels made tender. Don't forget your sunscreen as you yearn for piney trees green in desert mountains looming within sight, and hunger for the desert wind tonight. Let your feet start a journey through this strange new world that will lead you through mountains to the north. Let your feet and your spirit start to soar, and you'll walk like you've never walked before. Hot days, cold nights, balance out each other. Perfect ratio of sand and rock and water, ensuring open spaces for wild and human places. There's no lack of wet Ed Abbey rights when he describes the desert winds tonight. Shade your eyes and surrender to the thirst and heat. Purge all thoughts of refreshing ice-cold beer. Trust your eyes, yes, the water cache is here. And you'll smile as you embrace the now and here. Windmills spinning surely will impress you. Tilting giants can't seem bad unless you open up your mind to the beauty of their kind energy to help us bring the cities So, I had the best adventure of my life. And it really would not have been possible without the help of one particularly lovely lady, my lovely wife, Heather. So she held down the fort. She took care of the dog, she took care of the horses, she took care of the kitchen renovation, thank you, Dan. While I was away, made 100,000 trips to the post office to mail me my food so I could eat. It was great. But also, I mean, more than that, it was just, it's just a real gift to allow me to do what I needed to do. So, for this song, it's in German, and it's basically a flat-out love song to Heather. It's called Dein ist mein ganzes Herz. What it basically means is that you are my full heart. Sort of rough translations, wherever you are, I can't be without you. Sunlight, beautiful, flowers, dreamy, fall at your feet, that kind of thing. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to say. Dein ist mein ganzes Herz, wo du nicht bist, kann ich nicht sein. So wie die Blumenwelt, wenn sie nicht küsst, der Sonnenschein. Dein ist mein schönstes Lied, weil es allein aus der Liebe erblüht. Sag mir noch einmal, mein einzig Lieb, oh sag noch einmal mir, ich hab dich lieb. Wohin ich immer gehe, ich fühle deine Nähe, ich möchte deinen Atem trinken und beten dir zu Füßen sinken, dir allein, wie wunderbar ist dein leuchtendes Haar, Traumschön und Sehnsuchtsbang ist dein strahlender Blick. Hör ich der Stimme Klang, ist es Song wie Musik. Dein ist mein ganzes Herz, wo du nicht bist, kann ich nicht sein. So wie die Blumenwelt, wenn sie nicht küsst, der Sonnenschein. Dein ist mein schönstes Lied, weil es allein aus der Liebe erblüht. Sag mir noch einmal, mein einzig Lieb, oh sag noch einmal mir, ich hab dich lieb. So she made me promise not to make her talk, so. Any other questions if people ask? Yeah.
What's the scariest thing that happened to you while you were out there?
The scariest thing that happened to me was in Northern California when, so imagine you got a mountain here, and then the trail needs to come up over the ridge and down like that. But the closer you get to the top of the ridge, the steeper it gets. And hiking sideways on the snowy slopes is really hard. So you get higher and higher, and it gets steeper and steeper, and so it's harder and harder to stay, and it's a bigger and bigger deal when you don't stay. So going up around this one spot, over the course of an hour, I slipped and fell 4 times. Each time I'd slide anywhere from 20 to 50 feet, smash into a tree.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big bruise on my leg one time. One time my trekking pole gum and it stabbed me right. Oh. It didn't break my skin, but I was just like, oh my God. And then one time, you know how a tree, because it's dark, the snow melts out around it, so there's this big well. Yeah. So one time I went flying through and I stopped myself with my feet out like that, and it just jammed my feet, and I hurt my hip, and I couldn't really walk. So I literally, Heather was actually down visiting Dale, and down in Great Barrington, and so I got out my satellite emergency thing, and I said, if you don't hear from me in an hour, call out the rescue bike, because I wasn't sure I was going to make it. But I did, and I'm not sure how, but there's really no other options when you're out there, and you just got to keep going. So I did, and I was like walking down the trail for the rest of the day. But at that point, then I hooked up with my second trail family the next day, and everything, and miraculously, I was able to walk again, and it was great. So that was scary. Yes,
So
Paul.
what was that satellite thing that you had? That was an emergency?
Yeah,
Nice.
what are they called? Yeah, not an EPIRB. It's a little Garmin thing, so that you can actually, call in a rescue if you need to. So it was pretty nice. Yeah.
Tell us how you acquired your trail name.
Well, there's a little bit of a description in the program, but basically, it was my intention was that this trail was a break, a pause between the first and second halves of my life, and so I chose the name Comma as a pause, and to again reflect a change from first to second half. So that's a nice story, and it's all true, and it all worked out. But in our third trail family, whenever I would say that story, Bighorn used to get tired of hearing me say that story, so he would always say, no, it's really because there's always something more coming when he starts talking. So, like everything in life, it has multiple meanings. Hey, Kristen, can you lift up that picture and turn the heat down? Yeah, the thermostat right behind there. Yeah, so it's getting nice and warm here. Okay, so for this next song, this is from La Boheme, it's an opera, and I'm going to sing it just regular old Italian. And this is the point in the opera where basically boy meets girl, starving artist, beautiful, dying, sick ingenue, we're in love. And it starts off and they're fumbling around in the darkness. It's really cold, and and their hands touch. They're looking for a key. So it starts with the cold hands and blossoms into the warm heart of love. So you have the ice, and you've got the fire. So that's the connection here to the trail, because this was a record year for snow in the Sierras. Literally, some debate about whether or not there was more or not than in 1982, but just tons and tons of snow. So dealing with snow and ice was a huge deal for the first half of the hike, and then for the second half, all the entire western United States was on fire. So this is a song of ice and fire. It would be a song of fire and ice if we'd had a dwarf and a couple of dragons, but we didn't. It is just a song of ice and fire. And it goes like this. Che se la lasci riscaldar, cercar che giova, al buio non si trova. Ma per fortuna è una notte di luna, e qui la luna l'abbiamo vicina. Aspetti, signorina, le dirò con due parole chi son e che faccio, come vivo. Vuole chi son, sono un poeta, che cosa faccio? Scrivo, e come vivo, in povertà mia lieta, scialla da gran signore, rimedini d'amore, per sogni e per chimere, e per castelli in aria. L'anima talorna al mio forziere, ruban tutti i gioielli, due ladri gli occhi belli. V'entrar con voi pur ora, ed i miei sogni usati, e i miei sogni miei, tosto si dileguar, ma il furto non m'ancora. Poiché m'ha preso stanza la speranza. Or che mi conoscete, parlate voi, te parlate chi siete. Vi piace di yeah. So I think, I don't know if Puccini's very happy at the moment, but he's not saying. But okay, so enough of this foreign language bullcrap. Here is a nice little reversion back to modern day. So our third trail family included this tall, handsome, lanky, geeky, awesome guy named Wilder, and he was a musician. I hope, Wilder, I hope you're here, and if not, you're here in spirit in any case. One of the things that we would do in our third trail family, which is probably everybody just assumes this would happen, but we would every night after eating dinner, we would watch the Great British Baking Show. It was awesome. You got like just 6 of us. We'd all be crammed around Bonsai's little cell phone, anyway, so it was great. So in response to that, we named our tramley the Showstoppers, and we decided that we were going to walk the entire distance of Washington State without taking a shower or washing our clothes. It was awesome. And we succeeded, and here is a little song that Wilder and I put together in commemoration of that. No. It's been 1 week since I showered now. I'll get around to it when we reach the next town. 5 days since I'm pooping nose. And you say it gives me a surprise. 3 days since I washed my hands. I realize it's kind of gross and I'll make a plan. Yesterday you'd see me clean, but it'll still be 3 months till we might be clean again.
Hold the comments while I wash, please. Can we get some fun, please? Cause it's feeling quite awful, man. I summit peaks on the week, although I know that my bitch twinkle like this sweaty. Cause it makes me feel like quite a man. Hot sunbathing when a bus smiles. Been acting quite a while because I'm all about traveling. Wilder swinging his legs wide. You try to match stride. You try to piece me, but I am the king. Gonna wake and bake and take a break and broke a sink and see back sicker like titanium is stronger than the others. Let's see map before you map. The straight up family is whack. That shit is dangerous. My sisters and my brothers.
I cannot help it, my husband knows it's really bad. Trying hard not to smell, but I feel bad. I've been telling us since I've been in town. I've been aged, but really want to run me far. I have dancing around both of my sleeves. I have a history of ripping my shirt. It's been 1 week since you spent my bits. When you hand your nose, try to cover it. 5 days since I used sunscreen. I still got the sunburn on both my cheeks. It's been 3 days since we hit a town. You realize it's not my fault, my hands are greasy. Yesterday you've forgiven me, and I'll sit back and wait till you get a city.
Rickety ridge lines, the views are bitchin'. You have to climb big to make your legs stop itching. Watching sunsets with a fire band. We stayed amazed, man. All the smokiness clears away. Embarrassment goes away with more time. Least way to sub 9. My packet's guaranteed to satisfy. I snowmobile and I climb mad hills. Okay, don't pop pills. But if I didn't have fewer cries, gonna get a set of better poles. Gonna find the kind that never falters when my poles are always bending every time it snows. Gonna get in tune with harvest moves, cause the nighttime has got the moon trying to light up all the beauty that gets rid of us.
I cannot help it, but I do know it's really bad. Trying hard not to smell, but I feel bad. I'm the kind of guy who thinks I've been in time car. But they just go really want to drive car. I've been dancing around both of my sleeves. I have a history of food on my shirt. It's been 1 week since we made our peace. Drop your hands to realize it ends soon. 5 days since we locked the queue. You just drink all the things on this afternoon. 3 days since the district blew. You realize the shoes to blame, but what else to do? Yesterday, just be 2 days till we get to Canada. It'll just be 2 days till we get to Canada. It'll just be 2 days till we get to Canada. Manny RPC home of the hot tub. There we go. So that was our. What a great group, Bob. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about them other than they're awesome. Okay, moving right along. Oh yeah, here's a little message from our friends. Here's a little message from our friends Bonsai and Bighorn from that group. I can't vouch for the authenticity, but here they are.
Hello, this is Bonsai.
And Bighorn.
And we got to hike with Kama for about 6 weeks. And one of my favorite stories about our time with Kama is the time that he totally cheated on our bet with the Great British Baking Show.
So, to,
increase mental stability on the trail, Bonsai and I were watching the Great British Baking Show every night, and then we started hiking with Kama. And more members of the group caught on, and at about episode 9, Kama decided to start watching with us. And cleverly,
He pretended like he had never seen it before, and we were about to go into a town, Trout Lake specifically, and we were getting a little bit of service, and the rest of us went into town, and then Kama started watching with us like 2 nights later, and he's like, hey guys, we should place a bet on who's going to be the winner of And lo and behold, Kama, of all people, who hasn't watched the entire season, manages to pick the winner. So we decided, what he probably did,
was while he was in town, after realizing what we were doing, he looked up the show, discovered who the winner was, and, you know,
the long game.
played the long game in his ultimate craving for candy, which, if you knew Kama, he was eating candy constantly.
For some context, the winner, whoever picked the winner of the Great British Baking Show got a piece of candy from everyone who was in the bet. There was like 6 of us. We got 6 pieces of candy from each of us.
So although we love Kama, he is a dirty, rotten liar and cheater.
Kids these days, you never know what happens. So, you know, there's a lot of ugliness in the world, and being out on the trail for 5.5 months was a living embodiment of the no news is good news. And you know, it makes me think a lot about what is the real world. In some way, I think that the world is what the sense we make of the things that we see. And when we're in our regular lives, you know, what are the things that we see on our phones and on the TV and in the newspapers and on the even NPR, you know, and it's pretty depressing crap in a lot of ways. But when you're out on the trail, I mean, what is it that you're seeing? You're seeing the glorious landscape. You are living it with people that you just love, and it becomes your world, and so that's real. You know, that was what my world was for 5.5 months, and one of the ways that shows up is this whole idea of trail magic, where the name of the show comes. You'd be walking along and you'd find a cooler with like whiskey and Pop-Tarts in it, just sitting on the side of the trail. Or people would come and they'd come to trail places where it crosses roads, and they'd bring coolers and piles of food. And there's, you know, people who arrange their whole lives around supporting hikers, you know, at Hiker Heaven and Casa de Luna. And people have been doing this for years. They, like, at Casa de Luna, they literally have, their backyard is, you know, 50 different campsites. They have a big cookout every night for 30 or 40 hikers, and they provide Hawaiian shirts to everybody. And I mean, it just blows your mind. And actually, Heather really put her finger right on it. She says, you know, it just shows you the goodness of people, and that's what I was living in. And when you do that day after day, and it just keeps happening and happening, it's like, maybe life is like this, actually. Or maybe there's, so anyways, so that's blah, blah, blah. Question of real, what is real? When we're on the trail, we live in this world of magic among people. And then this year was an incredible year also because of the eclipse. I mean, what an incredible thing. I mean, the eclipse went right across the Pacific Crest Trail, and it was able to time it. SquarePants and I arranged it so that we would be at this one place, and we ended up attracting about 25 hikers. We had this huge party with you know, back rub chains, and played cards, and Bonsai led yoga, and this other hiker her dad brought in all these fresh tomatoes and salmon, and it was this huge party, and the eclipse was just an incredible thing. It really lives in my mind, you know, May 18th, 1980, when Mount St. Helens blew, and I heard that. It's like, whoa, this is a world that we live in. And to see the, the moon go across the sun, it was an extraordinary thing. I'm going to stop trying to describe it because I can't. But here is a little song. It's about some of the magic that we experienced on the trail. Sometimes the world seems a total mess, and yet the trail provides. Angels appear like magic, and goodness in people abides. What if it really were true? What if we lived like it's true? Awesome. Now that is a world I could live in. Perhaps I do. And then the heavens join in the game. Watch the moon dance across the sun, turning broad daylight into dark. Two circles then melt into one. A feeling I cannot explain. It's cold, and yet we can't help but cheer. Wonder and magic abound, even in this messy universe. We are at home. Oh, magic is here, it's waiting to be found, even in this messy universe. We are at home. Magic abounds.
Did you sing around the campfire at night or on the trail, or certainly you must have enchanted those that were walking with you?
Well, we rarely had campfires, and for most of the trail, campfires were actually not permitted. But we did do singing on the trail. We're gonna, you'll hear a little bit more about that later in the show. But I think that the most, I mean, this is more of a personal thing, but I actually did a lot of singing practice on the trail. It was great because when you have a nice downward slope and there's nobody else around, I got a chance to practice my singing. I learned a couple of songs, practiced all kinds of stuff from my awesome singing teacher brother, Mark, back there. So I did do a lot, but not as much singing with other people as you might expect, but a little bit here and there. Yes, Bill.
Did you say it was cold at midday at that point? It looked like it was.
The eclipse, it was amazing. That's one of the main sensations I have. It's like, it got really cold. It's like, here, it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden, there's no sun. I mean, even for just 2 minutes, and it got really cold. It was really surprising. Anyways, that's one of the ways which I'm going to remember that.
Speaking of cold, how did you keep your feet warm in your path? Because in the snow.
Well, warm heart. Really, when you're physically active and you're moving, the blood flows pretty well. Except for at the end in the Sierras when it was getting to be winter was coming on. That was a problem. I'd lose my feeling in my fingers every morning. And I had I just put 2 pairs of wool socks on, and if it was snowy, I'd put a Ziploc bag in between them to keep the inner one dry and all warm. Yeah, Dan?
How bad did your Crocs smell?
They smelled awesome. Yeah, I mean, especially compared to everybody else with all their really expensive hiking shoes. I mean, those things were gnarly. But my Crocs, they get washed every time I walk through a creek, and then they dry out. I mean, they were
Plenty of ventilation.
Plenty of ventilation. And if you like, I can give you a demonstration. Sue?
How did you deal with re-entry into the non-trail?
Yeah, re-entry into the non-trail world. It's just, you just have to, is what it amounts to. It's hard. What can I say about that that's remotely, well, one thing is, while I was on the trail, I lost a lot of weight. And I found a lot of sort of peace and centeredness. Coming back, I found most of the weight, and I've lost most of the peace and centeredness. but I have kept a bit of it, and really, maybe I'll speak a little bit more to this in the second half. But there's a way in which I just settled, and I'm more patient. Things don't bother me as much now, and when an experience like that was so long, and you can have a really cool experience if it's a day or a weekend or a week. It's nice, but when it's like months and months, it like goes into you in a way that is a lot more permanent. And I can remember that, and so I carry it around, and that's a little bit of the, there is an anchor of peace that I have brought back with me that I'll never lose. Okay, one more quick question, and then we're going to do a quick little stretch break. Yeah?
How much of the production that you now are giving us was on your mind when you were actually hiking?
A lot. Well, the idea actually...
Were you able to kind of be in the moment with the hike, or were you consumed a little bit about how I was going to play?
That's a good question.
Here's the most important answer to that. There are so many moments on the trail that you have enough time to think and feel as much about anything as you want with no limits. Because that's all you do every day, is you're out walking. So it was never like, the landscape and the hiking, the journey can absorb as much attention as you so there's really a boundlessness to that. And yeah, and because of that, like I didn't really start listening to music on my phone really until the later half of the trip, or the last quarter, because yeah, I mean there's so much to pay attention to, but again, there's just so much time. You can pay attention to the beautiful landscape and to your beautiful friends and to the podcasts and think about all these other things and do your own self-therapy as much as you want, and there's still plenty of time left over in the day. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick little stretch break. It's not really an intermission. Jan and Mark have some little treats. We have some trail mix. This is authentic, very similar to the kind that I have with like organic pineapple and fancy stuff like that, and some water. So this is a chance to get up and stretch. About 5 minutes, a few people have a chance to go to the bathroom, and we'll come back, and then we'll finish up.
And he came up to me and I was like, there we go.
That's pretty small, but that's fine. Oh yeah.
So Jane is here from the Asheville Center, and she is going to tell you a little bit about this place we have. And I will just tell you again that before we end, I'm going to make a very shameless and aggressive push for you guys to donate money to this place as well as to the Pacific Crest Trail Association. So just be thinking about how many hundreds of dollars you want to actually donate. Jane, tell us about it.
Thank you, Michael. Well, this house was built sometime in the 1840s, and Pamela Dexter, who is our executive director, she and her husband owned this property, and it had sort of sat idle for a while, and Pamela, being the artist that she is, creative person, and very bright, thought, aha, this is an opportunity that I should expand upon. So her idea was to create a place for artists to show their work, to teach others their work, and for the community to learn more about the art and culture of this part of the world. And so here we are today in the old Asheville residence that was built by the Atwoods in the 1800s. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed being part of the development of the Art Center, which is just a year old. And I hope that, like Kama, you know that a lot has gone before, but now we want to see what comes next. And I hope that some of you will come.
One of the things that really surprised me about the trail was time. I didn't even know it was a thing, that you could have such expansive time to really just let your mind go where it needs to go, let your heart go where it needs to go, with no end. And it becomes a habit that it just ends up in this weird kind of peace and clarity that was just awesome. So anyways, here's a little song that sort of is about that, sort of. And it goes like
and the trail
Sure. See me afterwards, I'll, okay. So, now I'm kind of a naturally happy guy. Being on the trail made me even more so. Just sort of blissed out all the time. It was great. But there were challenging times. There were moments when I did not have the same sort of sunny disposition as I might. I really can't remember them so much, because it's just the way my brain works. I just forget all that shit. But I wrote them in my journal, and I'm going to sing about some of them now. Okay. Yep. I don't want to hike no more. I just want a cinnamon roll. My kingdom for a shower. I smell like a carcass. I'm so damn lonely. Where did the trail go? When will this be over? I do all mosquitoes. I don't want to hike no more. I just want a cinnamon roll. My kingdom for a shower. I smell like death. I smell like death. I smell like death. Why can't I fall asleep? I just hiked a marathon. Sunrise, please go away. Black beans for lunch again. Who brought the snow shovel? I can't feel my fingers. Holy shit, my iPhone died. I need another cinnamon roll. I want my mommy. I don't want to hike no more. My kingdom for a shower. I smell like death. I smell like death. I smell like death. Question?
What are some of the smells and sounds
The other ones.
Yeah. Well, I like to burp. It was well known for that on the trail, so that was one.
Oh, and off the trail.
Well, and off the trail, or whatever. Well, just to be honest, one of the sounds that I most remember is sleeping pads. Because we would all sleep in what's called a cuddle puddle. Like 5 of us on the space of the grand piano, just all lined up. Like little colorful caterpillars. It was great, but I'll tell you, all the movements of sleeping bags on sleeping pads, it's really loud. And at the beginning part of the trail, that was part of the reason why I would always hike it or set up my tent, because I feel like, oh well, I don't want to disturb everybody, But of course, the tent did nothing to block any of the sounds. So that was just me being insecure and stupid. By the end, it's just like, it's just what happens. Everybody else makes noise when they sleep. I make noise when they sleep, and we just do it, and it was all fine. So, definitely a moment of inner transformation with respect to sleeping bags. Yeah, no.
How bad were the mosquitoes?
Well, 99% of the time they were non-existent. I have never used DEET in my life. But I actually camped at this one place in Northern California, just north of Burning Mountain Guest Ranch. It was on day number 151. Excuse me? Not 151, but 51. And I camped behind this big incense cedar off the trail, and somebody had left a bunch of trash there. And I was like, bad people. So I picked up the trash, and part of the trash was actually this little jar of DEET. I'm like, you're a really bad person. Not only did you leave litter, but it was like this chemical, and the very next day, the mosquitoes were so intense, I actually smothered my body in DEET. So, but it was really only a couple of days. Yeah. Yes, John Marsh.
So you took a lift for some of the trail, and you hiked obviously a couple of bits. Which bits did you decide to hike versus take lifts from?
Yeah. Well, there's a thing that was running for the people who weren't late, showing all the different paths I did. I remember an email from Swift before I left. He's like, I'm really worried about you because of the snow in the Sierras. And I was like, don't worry, Swift, I've already made a plan. I'm going to skip the Sierras. So I hiked for a little bit, and I said a really heartfelt and tearful goodbye to my tramley. They went up through the Sierras, one of the first groups to try and make it through. But I decided I was going to hitch around that. So I skipped around the Sierras, went up and did everything, and then came back and did it. That's the short story. The longer story, slightly longer story, I ended up with 43 different hitchhiking rides over the time, because I was, I'd go north, and then I'd come back south, and then I'd flip around, and I'd take an Uber, and then I'd, go up here, and then I'd take an airplane, and take a bus, and I actually logged more miles on roads than I did on the trail. And I'm actually proud. At one point, our friend Spiderbite said to me, he said, Kama, you're the flip-floppiest person I've ever met. Oh, that's so sweet. All right, so here's a message from some other friends. I think that's where we're at in this program. So this is the philosophical. Well, whatever. Here are some people.
The first time I ran into a bear, so I was hiking alone. It was raining. It was cold, and I was just not paying attention. I heard a twig snap, and I looked up, and I saw a really, really giant butt. And I knew that butt was giant enough that I could only belong to a bear. And I also knew that black bears don't like to be startled, and I also knew I would not win a fight. So I backed the hell out of there. I went back to my group, and then we came around the corner, singing like "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain" at the top of our lungs. So yeah, three women, middle of nowhere, singing. And we didn't see the bear the second time around, but we did see the pocket.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway was just that the community is everything, and that regardless of where you are in your life and what setting you're in, you're happiest when you're around people who you can have shared experiences with, and that you can connect to on those levels.
It's really nice to do this, Kama. Thank you for including me in the cabaret. It gives me time to pause and reflect on how important the trail is and how important we are. And to remember that we are the creators of our lives and that we don't have to just follow the herd. We can make new paths in life that are unexplored. I felt like when I was on the trail for the first time in my life, I was able to lead an egoless existence. I didn't know what that was. I had read about it in Buddhism, but I don't think you understand it until you experience it. And that's what I experienced on the trail, and it was beautiful. People talk about magic. I didn't believe in magic before the trail, and
Sue, you were asked earlier about reintegrating. Pretty much every one of my trail friends has had some, we've all talked about basically post-trail depression. And it really is hard because, I mean, you know, you watch Airplane Mode, and all of us, we're really trying to, we're struggling with how do we make meaning of this experience, because we know, we feel it. Yeah, it's deep, it matters. It's not, and it's not just about us and our own little lives, but it's, you know, I remember this one guy, he was this diesel mechanic, and it was early on in the trail, and he's like, everybody should have this experience, the whole world would be a different place. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. You know, and at the same time, he's like, yes, and that's never gonna happen. And so we're all just this process of really trying to make sense of an intensely positive and big experience, but in our regular everyday lives, it's just hard. But it's real. It's just part of what we do. So I am going to sing a little song about that. Sip of water. Oh, I love that. What is this feeling of power and drive? I've never known I feel alive. Where does this feeling of power derive? Making me know why I'm alive. Like a playful enigma. Wasn't I always just me? Unburdened by self-imposed stigma. And finally free. I have this thirst that I cannot deprive. Never have I felt so alive. There is no challenge I couldn't survive. Feeling like this, feeling alive. Like a curious secret, pulsing with life, but I know I don't always get to the peak. Yet I'm never alone. It's the feeling of being alive, full of energy, truly alive. It's the truth that cannot be denied. It's as simple as feeling full inside. Alright, so hot in here, but it's just it is, and you know, yeah. Okay. Verse in stone, towering peaks surround me, as far as I can see. Sierra, you bring me to tears with your sparkling beauty. Your mountains, like lovers, caress me and send shivers through me. Yosemite, Tuolumne, Sequoia, you shimmer like diamonds. Your passes like portals to heaven, inviting me higher till I sweep the top of the sky. Sierra, your peace flows into us like sun flows into the trees. Your winds blow the freshness into us, cares drop away like autumn leaves. Another glorious Sierra day, one seems to be dissolved, absorbed, sent pulsing onward, we know not where. Sierra, this grand show is eternal. The sun shines not on us, but deep in our soul. Another glorious Sierra day, one seems to be dissolved, absorbed, sent pulsing onward, we know not where. Sierra, this grand show is eternal. The sun shines not on us, but deep in our soul. Thank you all. I mean, this is just a great gift to me to have you, each and every one of you here. And again, I'd just like to thank a bunch of people, the Ash Hill Center for the Arts, yay, the Pacific Crest Trail Association. I mean, these are organizations that make this kind of stuff possible. They make it possible for me and the thousands of other people to go hiking on the trail and to, have arts here in our own community. So special thanks to those organizations. And behind that curtain is a nice big sign that says, please donate. So all that money that is just you don't want, you put it in those baskets. Okay, that'll be really helpful. And then those will turn into donations, Friends of Kama type of donations, and it's gonna be like awesome. Thank you to all of my trail family. Every one of you is so awesome. Thank you so much. My life is 100,000 times better because of all of you. Thank you. Thank you to the specific people who were volunteered to put their faces in this little show. That was awesome. Thank you. Again, Heather, you made this really possible. Thanks. Hugh Keelan, please, everyone. This guy is incredible. And not only is he an incredible musician, but in fact, is really his heart that started this whole thing. When I was hiking out of Wrightwood, trying to think of what I want to do a concert. I want to tell people about the trail. What would Hugh do? And I was like, Hugh does like operas with donkeys and stuff. He's into creative combinations that people don't normally think of. I think, well, why don't I do like opera songs about the trail, you know? So anyway, so thank you. And it was just, he and Jenna provided a lot of emotional support and ideas for putting the whole thing together. So thank you guys so much. And Jess and Wilder, who made our little music videos, thank you for that. Last big thank you is to my dear little baby brother Mark, who has been my vocal coach and life coach and putting all this stuff together. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So this is the final song, and this is an audience participation one. Does everybody stand up? Okay, so this is the song that I sang more than any other song on the entire trail. In the olden days, when they like had boats and stuff with sails, and they had these things called sea shanties, which would be songs that everybody would sing so that everybody would get in sync to each other, you know? That's what the whole purpose of sea shanties were. So we adapted that to hiking. So we took a sea shanty, so you can get the rhythm here. You'll fall into it, please sing along. You might notice that it repeats, so. Is that the day? We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile. Actually, let me do it once first so you can hear the whole. Packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile, and we'll all hike through today. Now everybody hear it. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile, and we'll all hike through today. Oh, the sun be beaten down, so we carry our own shade. The sun be beaten down, so we carry our own shade. The sun be beaten down, so we carry our own shade. And we'll all hike through today. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile. And we'll all hike through today. Oh, our throats be parched and dry, but there's a spring in 20 miles. Our throats be parched and dry, there's a spring in 20 miles. Our throats be parched and dry, there's a spring in 20 miles. And we'll all hike through today. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile, and we'll all hike through today. Oh, a pint of ice cold beer wouldn't do us any harm. Oh, a pint of ice cold beer wouldn't do us any harm. A pint of ice cold beer wouldn't do us any harm, and we'll all hike through today. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old packs another mile, and we'll all hike through today. Oh, the mountains in the north are calling out our names. Oh, the mountains in the north are calling out our names. Oh, the mountains in the north are calling out our names, and we'll all hike through today. We'll haul the old packs another mile. We'll haul the old past the middle of July.
Oh, the snow be sticking round past the middle of July. The snow be sticking round past the middle of July. And we'll all hike through today. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. And we'll all hike through today.
Oh, later on this morning, the day will turn to night.
Oh, later on this morning, the day will turn to night. Oh, later on this morning, the day will turn to night. And we'll all hike through today. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. And we'll all hike through today.
Oh, the winter winds are blowing, time to be in our own beds.
The winter winds are blowing, time to be in our own beds. The winter winds are blowing, time to be in our own beds. And we'll all hike through today. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. We'll haul the old, that's another mile. And we'll all hike through today.
All your ass in here and eat some food. Right. Thank you.